Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast here in Australia. Well, we're still in the middle of the Christmas New Year festive period, and isn't it been an exciting time? Santa came and I'm sure he brought you lots of lovely gifts, and some of you are feeling a little bit tired and a little bit stressed from all of the event. But for many of us, there's been times over this period where we've had a tinge of sadness because we've had loved ones in hospital through sickness and accidents and no fault of their own, but that's just the hand that life has dealt us. So we need to take a moment to be thankful for those that are still with us, that are healthy and fit, and for those of us that are facing sort of, family illnesses and things like that. We need to be strong and we need to support each other through this very, very difficult time. It's always harder when it's a holiday period, when someone that you're close to gets very, very sick, and you need to all rally around and make that the focus of the festive event. And here at the network, we've got someone really special we want to give a big shout out to, and that's young Lance, and he's recovering from an illness at the moment. So from all of us here, we send you our love and our healing. We know you're going to be back on track real soon, young Lance. So for the rest of us mere mortals, it's time for us to really start to focus on what we want to be focusing on for the new year coming up. And I know it's been a difficult nearly 2 years since the pandemic started, and a lot of us are sort of thinking, why bother? Why are we going to set any intentions? Why are we going to have any New Year's resolutions? Look, I don't know about New Year's resolutions. That's a very personal thing, but I certainly do like to set some intent for the coming 12 months on either New Year's Eve or pretty close to the new year, so that I just have something that I can put up on my vision board and say, well, this is what I'm aspiring to. This is what I'm aiming for the coming 12 months. And it doesn't necessarily have to be set in stone. It can be something as simple as trying to be more kind to the people that are around you. And I mean, look, each and every one of us has our days where we're a little bit frazzled and sort of can be a little bit short with somebody on the phone or in a department store. But this year, I think it's time to really sort of ramp that up and try and be even more kind to the people that we come in contact with in our day-to-day lives. Now, this leads me to the Simply Tarot card of the week, which will be our final one for 2021. And it's interesting because it's the very first card of the deck. It's the Magician. It's the element of surprise. Now, surprises aren't always good. Sometimes surprises are not so good or bad. So it's really the time where I look at the Magician as the card where we have the tools of the four tools of the tarot deck, the wands, the cups, the swords, and the pentacles, that we can use all of these tools to bring about what we want in our lives. So we have the ability to sort of almost, in a sense, be starting from a neutral position. It's up to us what tools we take out of the toolkit or place on the table and pick up and use, that we can bring either good or not so good into our lives by the way that we focus our energy and our attention. And it comes back to what I said previously. Maybe your intent or your New Year's resolutions is not necessarily about what you're hoping to achieve for the year, but maybe something as simple as being a better person, being more understanding, being more kind, being more considerate of the people that you're coming in contact with in your day-to-day life. And that in turn will overflow into every other area of our lives, because I firmly believe what we send out is what we get back. If we're angry and we're aggressive, then we're going to attract more of the same. If we can put a smile on our face and be kind and condescending and understanding, then we should receive more of that in return. It's not always about the material side of life. Yes, the material side of life makes the world a little bit easier to contend with, but it does not fix all our problems. And it certainly doesn't buy us good health, happiness, and peace and harmony within. We are the only ones that can provide that. So let's move forward into 2022 with great optimism and enthusiasm, but most of all, kindness and understanding of the people that are surrounding us and the people we get to meet. And if we all did a little bit more of that, I think the world would become a much, much better place and a much, much brighter place with a lot more positivity and a lot more things to look forward to, because we would be creating a different energy to focus throughout the world where we're all contributing to making the world a better place. So the Magician card, some people say it's the last card of the tarot deck. I always look at it as being the very first card, because it's got all the ability to make changes in our lives in a very magical sort of surprise sort of way. So next time you need to sort of feel that you need a little bit of extra energy, sort of why don't you conjure up the Magician in your mind and say, I'm like a magician. I can perform magic tricks. I can bring anything into my life that I really want to. So that's really important. So we're going to focus now on the astrology section of the show, which has become quite popular over the years I've been here with A1R Psychic Radio. And each week I have, many people requesting different things in my inbox. Look, I try and keep this segment as a general sort of segment, not going through the 12 zodiac signs, for the reasons that the influences that I'm talking about are known as transits. And these are where the planets are moving continually around the zodiac wheel, so that this affects each and every one of us. It's not necessarily picking out a particular star sign. If I feel it's going to have more emphasis onto a particular star sign, I will tell you. But for most of us, this applies to all of us in some form or another. So this week, our focus is still in the Capricorn energy area, because the sun is still sitting in Capricorn and will be till sort of around about the 22nd of January. So, but it's not the sun that I want to talk about. It's the other three planets that are sitting in Capricorn at the moment that are making configurations with the transits that are really important and affect each and every one of us. So we have the planet of communication, Mercury. Now, Mercury covers all forms of communication, whether it's written, spoken, text message, email, carrier pigeon, whatever form that you want to call communication, or us having a one-on-one conversation. It's communication right across the board. And I think some people fail to realize that sort of putting a post on social media is still a form of communication. So I want you to be very careful in the way that you articulate any communication in the next 7 days, because for some reason, some people are going to be misconstrued and it's going to cause some friction or some tension in your lives. It's going to be people not really probably having their listening ears on and only picking up or only seeing what jumps out at them and not really paying attention to the full message that you're trying to give. So make sure that your communication is very clear, very concise, can't be taken another way, can't be misinterpreted, that it's the way it's meant to be. So we have the planet of communication is conjunct or holding hands the planet Venus. Now, the planet Venus is the planet of love and affection, or the things that we love to do in our lives. It's not always a loved one, but in this instance, I'm talking about loved ones. We don't normally have conversations with the things that we love to do, unless you're me, and you have a conversation with yourself out loud as you're going through the day, and that way you get the right answers. But for the rest of the mere mortals on the planet, most people have conversations with people that they care about. So it's about communicating very clearly, particularly with loved ones or people that you have a special interest with. And that does overflow to your boss at work too, even though you mightn't be in love with your boss and you mightn't love your boss, but you do have a special bond there because you work together. So you have to make sure any clear communication is very clear there. So we also have Venus conjunct or holding hands Pluto, the planet of transformation. Now, when I'm talking about three planets in like a stellium here together, they're all holding hands together. So Mercury is actually making the same aspect to Pluto, and Venus is making the same aspect to Mercury and Pluto is making the same aspect to Venus and Mercury. So they're all together. So Pluto is the planet of transformation, of asking us to duck under the covers and look at for the things that are hidden, things that we've been hiding from ourselves or things that we've been avoiding dealing with. So this is a really interesting stellium at the moment because we've got communication with loved ones and we've got the opportunity here to bring out things that have been hidden or things that we haven't felt like discussing or felt uncomfortable in discussing. But we just have to be careful that we do it in a very gentle, methodical sort of approach. And I'm saying the word methodical because we are sitting in the Capricorn energy. So the Capricorn energy is earthy. It's down to earth. It's practical. It's logical. It's methodical. It quite often rules or governs things like big business, hospitals, doctors, dentists, anything official in our lives. So all these things come into play here. So the planet of communication can be about us dealing with matters of family and loved ones that need transforming or need changing. It could be a matter of we need to get people to medical appointments or dental appointments. And, you know, it's very difficult at this time of the year because there's very few available. So there's lots of reasons why a lot of this is focused on the family, the people that are closest to us, about trying to completely transform our lives. And it's interesting that it's coming up just before New Year as we're all setting our intentions and our New Year's resolutions and the things that we're going to bring into our lives, hopefully to make them more pleasurable and more fulfilled. So we've got a lot on our plate at the moment that we really sort of, some people are starting to feel quite overwhelmed. And I know a lot of people just sort of want to switch everything off and shut the door and say, I just want a couple of days doing nothing and not speaking to anybody, and just so I can recharge my batteries. And that may be how this will work for you too. So there's many different ways that this can work, many different ways that it applies to your life. But whatever it is, just make sure that your communication's clear and you have a calm, logical approach to everything that you're going to endure, or the things that you're trying to have bring about change in your life, or the conversations you're having with people. Now, we also have Jupiter, the planet of opportunity, expansion. One of my favourite planets actually is nearing the end of its time in Aquarius. Now, Jupiter's been sitting there for a bit over 12 months, or around about the 12-month mark. He will slowly move into the following sign of Pisces in the coming weeks. So as Jupiter's nearing the end of his transits in Aquarius, this is when the Jupiter energy will seem as its strongest, because it's this final push to sort of get everything done and achieved there. Now, Jupiter is the planet of expansion and opportunity, but because it's sitting in Aquarius, it's asking us to think outside the square, to find solutions that may not be considered the norm. That we're really being tested to sort of look at things in a different way. You know, those sudden thought waves that we've had, are they giving us an insight into how we need to handle things from here on in? I personally think this probably applies to the way that governments and people in authority are looking at the COVID situation around the world. They're trying to think outside the square. They're trying to find new solutions. They're trying to find a different way of approaching it. The things that they've done not necessarily aren't working, but I think human beings are tired and sick of it and are sort of saying, oh, to hell with it. Look, I'm just going to go out anyway. You know, we've done everything right for nearly 2 years and, you know, we haven't beaten this thing yet. So, look, let's just sort of say, let's get on with living. And look, maybe that's one solution. Maybe that's one way of looking at things. And maybe out of this, we might get some different ideas or some different ways of approaching it that may not necessarily would have worked at the beginning and might not have worked in the middle, but maybe the solutions and the answers now. So we have to look at things in very different ways. Jupiter's asking us not to get bogged down in the status quo. It's asking us to be flexible enough to sort of have some light bulb moments. Don't dismiss everything just because you don't understand it. So we have Saturn in Aquarius making a square transit to Uranus in Taurus. Now, what does this mean in layman's terms? Now, a square is something that's a 90-degree right angle, so it means it's uncomfortable. So when we have Saturn, the planet of discipline, sitting in Aquarius, which again is that light bulb moment asking us to think outside the square, it's the planet of discipline, so it's the higher authority, it's the father figure, or it's the governments, it's the people in position of power, are feeling a little bit uncomfortable with things not going quite the way that they expected or they anticipated. Now, with that making the square to Uranus in Taurus, now Uranus is the planet of the unusual and the unexpected. It's sitting in Taurus, which is telling us what we value. This is where our money comes from, our personal drive for money, the things that are important to us, the rules that we set and we live by, usually more on a personal level than on a government level. Now, the fact that we've got sort of like a government feel to this or an authoritarian feel to this coming out of Aquarius, asking us to think outside the square, look for some different solutions. And then Uranus sitting in Taurus, which is the planet of the unusual and the unexpected, that can have like the bolt of lightning. So it's almost like we've got two really impulsive sort of energies connecting together, even though they don't maybe see eye to eye. They're still trying to come up with solutions or look at things in a different way to try and get us out of these ruts that we're in and to maybe break everything up and move it forward. So to add to this, we have the moon currently sitting, and will be for the next 12 or so hours, sitting in Scorpio. So our emotions are feeling very intense. You might even feel the tension in your body as you go to do things. Your body's not as flexible as it was yesterday. That will soon pass. It's just a very intense time as we wrap up 2021. And I think a lot of us are doing a lot of reflecting, a lot of looking back and saying, wow, I didn't quite get done what I wanted to achieve this year, but look at what I've done over here on the other hand that I never even dreamed of I was going to do. So I think it's a really good way to look at that. It has been a year of success, even though it didn't maybe quite go according to our calendar and our timetable. We have been able to collectively, as a globe and as individuals, achieve a great lot this year. So we're going to have our first caller. We're going to be talking with Susan in Bedfordshire in England. Are you there, Susan?
Yeah, I'm here.
Do you have a question I can work with, please, Susan?
I'd just like to know what will happen to me within the next 12 months.
Okay, we can look at that for you, Susan. It's really interesting because what they're showing me at the moment, I want to tell you to take a breath, Susan. I think you've got some great ideas of where you want to take your life in this next 12 months, but it's like I want to say to you, let's just have a little bit of a pause at the moment and just cement everything together so that everything's rock solid, that we've got a good foundation that we can springboard from in the coming year with the new things that we want to bring into our lives. And then sort of, we're going from a position of power, not necessarily going from a position of haste and I'll make do as I go along. I want to be able to see you sort of leap into 2022 in a way that you feel very secure, very confident. Every step, every choice, every decision that you make will be coming from a position of power. So are you looking to make some changes with the way that you're bringing an income in? Is that a change of job or change of something in your life? Because I'm seeing new income. I'm seeing sort of extra income coming in, Susan. Are you looking to change your job?
For a job at the moment.
They're showing me changes around March, and I wasn't sure whether it was a job change or whether it was just an opportunity there that you've got ways there that you can bring in extra income that sort of really is easing the financial things around you, and you're sort of sitting there and saying, gee, why hadn't I thought of that before? So whatever it is, let it come to you. You don't have to go constantly searching for it, but certainly 2022 will be an easier year on the finances. I'm not necessarily seeing a move of residence as such, Susan, but I am seeing changes within the location of where you're living. So that could be changing some furniture around, hanging up some new curtains, just generally sort of making a few improvements, which makes you feel better. They're also sort of showing me that I'm not sure that it's a new relationship, but I have this beautiful big pink heart there. So to me, I'm looking at this as the resurgence of love. So I'm hoping you're going to tell me you're already in a steady relationship, are you, Susan? Are you in a relationship, Susan, that where the relationship could, really move to the next level?
I'm not too sure if I am in a relationship.
I didn't hear what you said, sweetie.
I'm not too sure I am in a relationship.
Okay. Look, they're showing me new love. So they're showing me the opportunity. If you're already in a relationship, then that relationship is going to get stronger and the connection between the two of you is going to deepen and grow. If you're not in a relationship, then there's the opportunity here for new love to come in that's going to be complete, and it's going to be something that's really going to sort of shine all the way through every area of your life. So for Susan, I think the year of 2022 is going to be a dynamic year where lots of your dreams are going to come through. There's certainly more money. You're feeling a lot happier on an emotional level, and you seem much more comfortable with where you're living. So that's where we're going to leave Susan now. We're going to talk with Kari in Tampa in Florida. Are you there, Kari?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have a question I can work with, please, Kari?
Yes, I would like to know what you see coming up for the next 6 months.
Okay. All right, we can tune into that.
Thank you.
Kari, did you feel the last 3 months of this year were sort of like flat for you? That like there wasn't a lot of excitement there? Everything was just flat?
Yeah.
Is that, yeah? Because they were showing me that it's sort of like we're still in that flat position, and it's like just, I want you to, I know you're in Florida and I know there's beach and water and sunshine where you are, but I want you to imagine you're like a person laying in a pool on one of those plastic beds. You know what I mean? You're just laying there and you're just floating around the pool and just enjoying the warmth and the water and not a care in the world. If you can do that for the next couple of weeks, which is really important, I'm not saying take the time off work, but I'm just saying when you've got the downtime, just relax, just let yourself float. You will find then that there's going to be some tremendous inspiration, some tremendous light bulb moments that are going to pop into your mind. That's then when I want you to either write it down, put it on your phone, on your cell phone or something like that, so that you've got those points that have come into your mind that we can go back and look at them in a few weeks' time. They're showing me from the second half of January, things are going to really get very, very busy, Carrie. It's like you really need to give yourself this time for a bit of R&R, catch your breath before we move into a very busy time in 2022. There is a number of endings and changes coming up. Are you looking to change your job? Is that something that's high on the list for 2022? Because I'm seeing a new job and I'm seeing it coming with record speed.
Yeah, I already have it. I just haven't really taken a lot of the contract yet.
Right. Okay, but that's going to really ramp up in the third week of January. That's when, we're going to hit the ground running with that.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's important you have a little bit of a rest now. But there's good money to be made around that, Carrie. I'm also seeing question marks about. I'm seeing question marks around. I don't know whether you're ready to buy a property, but that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing deeds with question marks around it. So is that you contemplating buying a property in 2022?
Yes.
Yeah, and I feel that that's very possible. Look, I'm not going to say that it's going to happen before June, but I'm going to say to you, it's one of those things that don't ever let it get too far out of your mind. It's like when you've got a spare 5 minutes, have a look, keep an eye on the real estate market, get a feel for it, know what prices things are going for in the areas that you're interested in, so that when something does come up, you'll be ready to act very decisively. 2022, particularly the first 6 months of 2022, is a year where you're going to have to really think on your feet. You're going to have to be able to make decisions with a split second. There won't be time to sit and ponder and do your homework on it. You're going to really have to rely on your gut reaction. And this is why with the real estate proposition, I want you to keep an eye on things. So if something came up that you think, wow, that's a bargain, that's too good to walk past, quick, I better go and have an inspection, you'll know straight away that it's the right price for what the property is, that you'll be able to make a clear, decisive decision and act really quickly and beat everybody else to the punchline because you've already done your little bit of preliminary homework, keeping an eye on the market previously. There's going to be some people that are really going to get your temper boiling. And I want to say to you, look, if somebody really annoys you that much, it doesn't matter how long they've been in your life. If they're no longer any use to you, they're causing you too much drama, just cut them off. It's a year where you have to be very decisive. You haven't got time to play people's games. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on the opportunities that can come towards you. There's good money to be made. There's the purchase of a property. I do see a relationship in there, but they didn't really show me much about that. They just said they gave that a tick. So whatever that means, whether that means you're in a current situation and they're approving of that, I'm talking about your spirit guides, or whether there's someone new coming in and they just give him the tick of approval very quickly, I wasn't sure because they didn't elaborate. But they just showed me that you need to be able to make quick, decisive, quick decisions, and it's going to be a year that you're going to say, wow, this has been where I've been able to achieve a lot. Because you feel like you've been sitting on your hands for so long that nothing's sort of come the way that you wanted it to. Well, it's like we're going to play catch up very, very quickly. So you need to make sure, Carrie, that you're getting adequate rest, feeding your body the proper nutrition so that you can keep going at this very fast pace that will be the first 6 months of next year. But I know you're going to love it. You're going to really enjoy it. You thrive on being busy, Carrie, and this is just your sort of year. So best of luck, sweetie.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. I just love you, Amanda. Thank you.
Oh, you're very, very welcome, sweetie. But it's lovely to work with somebody that is really going to embrace what's coming towards them, that you're ready. You're ready to do this and you're not going to stop and think about it. You're just going to go with it. It's wonderful.
It's exactly what I feel right now because I've got this opportunity and it's good money and I've been kind of under the weather for the last 2 weeks, and I've been a little frustrated because I wanted to get things done, but you're right. I'm going to just keep resting to recover.
Yeah, you're meant to just relax. Be like I said, floating around the pool on the lilac. Just relax. Just enjoy it because this is your time to get ready for what's coming, and it's going to be fantastic. I can only wish you very well. Ari, I know you're going to do so well next year. it'll be lovely for you to contact us back here again at the show and let us know how you're going on. Anyway, sweetie, that's where I've got to wrap it up.
Thank you.
Okay, lovely to talk with you, Kari. So that's where we've come to the end of the show. So, you know, we're in between Christmas and New Year, and it's a very magical time of the year as far as I'm concerned. It's still Christmas in my book until we get into the new year. So I'd like to leave you this week with one of my favourite songs, and it's not a Christmas song. And many of you will say, oh, yes, I love that song, but I like it by so-and-so or this band or that group. And it's Amazing Grace. It's one of my favourite songs by one of Australia's, well, we affectionately call him the voice here, John Farnham, but he does a beautiful rendition with him and two of his backing singers, Vanetta Fields, who used to be the backing singer for Boss Skaggs and Pink Floyd, and Lindsay Fielding. So if you get a chance, Google it, put it on your turntable, from whatever way you get your music. It's called Amazing Grace with John Farnham, Vanetta Fields and Lindsay Fielding. So until next week, enjoy the rest of Christmas, and next week we'll see you in the new year for a new show, and we have lots of shows here on the network. So until next week, bye for now.